We're going to look now at factoring. We've been doing a lot of problems where we multiply polynomials. Factoring is undoing the multiplication. It's the reverse of multiplication. You're going to ask the question, where could this polynomial have come from? And the first type of factoring we'll look at is factoring out the greatest common factor. You've done this many times in your life when you've worked with fractions and you had to determine greatest common factors or working up for least common denominators. The same kind of thinking is involved. And all we're going to do is extend those same thought patterns, those same kinds of ideas, to working with polynomials. Now, having said that, I'm going to re-emphasize, change papers here, and re-emphasize that factoring is the reverse of multiplication. That was graceful. We'll turn that into part of the word. And our goal here is to undo multiplication. Let's take a look at multiplying and then reversing the process. Back to an old familiar friend. If we had something like 3 times x plus 2, we would apply our distributive property. And we would have 3x plus 2 times 3, or 3x plus 6. But what if you started out with 3x plus 6? Let's go in reverse and think, well, now, I could write these as two little products. I could say that's a 3 times an x, and I could write 6 as a 3 times a 2. Factoring each of these individual terms, in essence. We definitely factored the 6. Well, recognize that the 3 is in common. You know, the 3x kind of already came to us factored, but we have to look at the 6 and recognize that there's a 3 in there. If I can recognize that the 3 is in common, I can pull it back out. The distributive property, when we multiplied, put the 3 in. Now I can think, let me pull the 3 out. This is what factoring is all about. If I pull the 3 out, what's left over? Well, I still have an x. I pulled it away from there. It's gone. But I have an x left over. I need to keep it. I pull the 3 out from this. What's left over? A 2. I also have to keep the fact that they're added. So what I can do is I can rewrite 3x plus 6 as 3 times the quantity x plus 2. I have reversed what we did up here. And this is factoring out the greatest common factor. Here's your greatest common factor. And here's what I sometimes often call, the leftovers. Okay? They're going to be in the parentheses when you go through this process. So let me write out a recipe for this process. Which is called factoring out the greatest common factor, and you'll hear that over and over again. Factoring out the GCF. A lot of times when you get instructions, you'll be told outright, factor out the GCF, so you need to recognize that. What you're going to do is look for common factors in each term. So knowing the multiplication becomes very important so that you can recognize where your terms come from. Look for common factors in each term. And then you're going to pull them out. And you're going to put the leftovers in parentheses. And we're just going to do some examples. Again, often the instruction comes at you as factor out GCF, and you get some wonderful polynomial like 2x cubed plus 4x squared plus 6x. You might or might not notice right away all the common factors. You can go in stages. You might just notice initially, got a bunch of multiples of 2. So let me think about 2's. This would be a 2 times an x cubed, and here we've got a 2 times 2 x squared, and here we've got a 2 times a 3x. So let me pull out the 2. And what am I left with? Well, x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3x. So you pause and you look at it again and you say, they all have x's. Let me take out an x. If I do that, I'm going to end up with a 2x pulled out. But what am I going to have left? Well, this is x times x squared, x times x, and plain old x. So I'm going to take out the x, and I'll be left with x squared plus, remembering my 2, got an x, and again, remembering my 3, its x is gone. So this is my final answer. If you notice the 2x right away, you can perhaps just jump right to that line. Let's look at another example. A lot of this is just coming to recognize the common factors.